So this is an archery blunt, a type of wooden arrowhead recorded in the Luttrell Psalter, an illuminated manuscript in the 14th century. Heads like this are used for stunning small game and birds, and also during practice. A wooden arrowhead of this type won't bury itself in a tree or scurry under the grass and get lost. So I set myself the task of figuring out how were these made all those centuries ago, and I think possibly they were made on something called a pole lathe. So to test my theory, I built this. But building a pole lathe turned out to be relatively easy. The hard bit, for me, is learning how to use it. So the first mistake I made was using the wrong tools. These are carpenter's chisels, and these are what I started work with. They're okay, they do cut wood, you can make shapes with them, but they're entirely the wrong thing to use on a pole lathe. So I learned the hard way that pole lathe chisels look like this. So the next thing I learned was about how the lathe itself works. Modern lathes are constant motion, always turning the piece in the same direction. But pole lathes are different. They're reciprocating lathes. The workpiece spins one way and then it spins the opposite way. So there's a technique, a rhythm in its use. You have to apply the chisel as the piece rotates towards you and take it away as it spins the opposite direction. There's quite a knack to it, and it is a rhythm. A push and a pull, a push and a pull. It's almost imperceptible, just tiny little movements to make the blade cut and then take it away as the workpiece spins in the opposite direction. And that's how a pole lathe works. And that's the thing I had to get used to and learn with these tools. So a pole lathe is a relatively low-powered device. I use my foot to press on the treadle, which spins a piece towards me. And the pole, the spring pole, spins it back. And that's the action of a pole lathe, backwards and forwards. It reciprocates. So this, and learning how to use the tools, was my next challenge. How to do both things. To spin the piece backwards and forwards, and to work the chisels, carefully removing wood all along the workpiece. So before I can explore further whether or not these blunts were made on a pole lathe, I've got to learn to use the tools and learn to use the lathe. Lots to do before I get to this stage. The first stage of the process is to create a blank of wood. Traditionally, pole lathes are used to make chair and stool legs using green wood. The green wood is then put on a shave horse and worked down into a rough cylinder ready for the pole lathe. Ordinarily I'd work much longer pieces than this on the shave horse, but I'm using short offcuts of seasoned silver birch just to create practice pieces. But this is the overall aim of that process, to create a crude cylinder of wood ready for the pole lathe. So the next stage of my learning has been to take pieces of wood like this that I've just created on the shave horse and turn it into a true cylinder of wood like this. This is also seasoned silver birch. So I'll make 2 turns around the workpiece with the drive cord, and then centre it up on the lathe. I can't tell you how many times I've done this and failed. I've got it wrong in some way or another. It looks easy. It turns out to be quite hard. But if it's successful, the piece rotates. It's a little bit wobbly because at the moment this wood is not a true cylinder. But it's ready for that next stage. So the first tool I'll use is a roughing out gouge. It was here that I made my first big stumble. I used a small carpenter's gouge. It kind of did the job, but it didn't do it well. I had no idea at the time that I needed something like this, a proper pole lathe gouge. This makes all the difference. Let's see it in work. So I soon realised that to be successful at this stage, roughing down that cylinder of wood, the preceding stage had to be spot on. The work on the shave horse is absolutely essential. So another lesson learned the hard way. But that, I guess, is perhaps the best way to learn. So that's the roughing gouge, and it's surprisingly easy to use. And you can get a remarkably smooth surface with it. But to get smoother, I've had to learn how to use this, a 2-inch wide, extremely sharp pole lathe chisel. It took me a long while to get even modestly proficient with this tool. But let me show you how it works. So that was the next stage of my learning process, learning how to use this magnificent chisel. It's simple, but it's so hard to use. But the next thing I've got to master is something called a skew chisel. I'd never seen one before now. Let me show you what one looks like. The skew is a double beveled chisel with a ferociously pointed tip to it. It's set at an angle and is used for turning spindles, smoothing and creating detail. So I think a chisel like this may have a big part to play in turning archery blunts, if indeed they were turned on a pole lathe. Let's see how I get on with this. So these are the tools that I've been learning to use on my pole lathe. Who'd have thought so much time, so much skill, so much learning would be involved to make something as simple as a wooden end to an arrow? Join me next time to see whether or not I can perfect my skills and abilities with the pole lathe and with these tools to successfully make medieval style archery arrow blunts.